Stars twinkle up above as Maureen sits alone on a tree stump in the middle of a forest, with only a blazing fire pit keeping darkness at bay. Shaman Adogo emerges from shadows, proclaiming his own greatness while bidding her welcome. He questions her resolve, querying her, circling her as he does this, going so far as to sniff at her. With a huff, she pulls out an agreed down payment, setting it beside her, looking at him expectantly. He smiles, and the ritual begins. Despite her bravado, Maureen was new to this. Thus, she thought nothing of it when at a crescendo, Adogo stiffens, his eyes clouding over in purple mist, speaking in rigid unison with a grim, otherworldly echo emanating from shadows. The glow of the pit flame dimmed as darkness swallowed up the surrounding forest, blotting out the stars. This unseen presence demanded her wish. She asked for an item, one to make her wanted, desirable, precious, invaluable, adored in the eyes of men. After a cackling laugh, instructions were given to place a chosen item in the ritual pot. Maureen obeyed, producing her mother's gifted necklace and dropping it in. A great flame burst from the earth, consuming the pot to ashes instantly. The stars shone again as the heavy darkness receded, followed by a strange wind which blew away all ashes, revealing a gleaming gold necklace, ornately shaped in the form of twin serpents, coiled at the tail, each head interlocked to form a grand locket. Maureen retrieved and admired her trinket, failing to notice a look of horror on Adogo's face. Nor did she pick up on his haste, insisting she leave, refusing any balance payment. Though she ignored that he was not only placing items into jars, but also putting every other item into bags of cloth. It had ended sooner than expected. Thus, Maureen was able to meet up with her girlfriends at the Gretchen Lounge and Bar lunch party. There, seated close to the high table, she awaited her quarry. Soon he arrived. Amidst his entourage was the one and only rising G guy, Chukwuemeka, aka Don Dada, known for never hooking a maga he could not close. Putting on her serpent-necked trinket, Maureen pounced, assured of its effectiveness as she basked in a flurry of stares and glances sent her way. Maureen's group were soon integrated into Don Dada's inner circle. The night would swiftly end as Don Dada honored her by taking them all back to his personal home. Later, basking in sweaty triumph, Maureen gingerly toyed with her trinkets, evoking curiosity. She asked of the secret to his success, and with a struggling reluctance, he silently obeyed, leaving briefly, only to return holding an ornate calabash ringed with red silk. Shocked at the sight, but still unfazed, she pressed further, and as he answered that the contents were what granted him energy, success, power, and luck, Maureen made a snap decision. Snatching it away from his now weakening frame, she immediately drank it, coughing and spewing it all over herself as he weakly revealed that he was never to mention this secret to anyone with the cost of his own fate. As Don Dada withered before her eyes, Maureen was distracted by an intense dark purple glow emanating from the eyes of the locket. Watching, transfixed, as spilled liquid from the calabash on her body moved, flowing backwards across her skin into the necklace, disappearing as though absorbed into metal. Swiftly, Maureen felt dry. The glow had ended, returning to normal as though her necklace was sated. Don Dada lay dead, withered and disfigured. Maureen dressed up, weeping at imagined consequences of Don Dada's death. Quietly creeping into the hallway, works for a minute before one of Don Dada's guys spots her while returning from the toilet. He says nothing at first, just beaming a goofy smile at her, flustering Maureen, who struggled to begin a confession. Suddenly he begins speaking, loudly. He praises her, making promises to her, and wooing her all in rapid-fire succession. His voice attracts others, who emerge one by one from their rooms, initially shouting for him to stop the ruckus. then at a single glance at her, stared transfixed. Each moved rapidly. Soon she was backed into a corner, crowded. When her back hit a wall, it all happened at once. They finally seemed to acknowledge one another. Bickering began almost instantly, escalating to shouting, then fighting. Maureen heard a bottle break, saw crimson blood splash from someone's back. As they fought, none approached her nor hurt her, only gazing at her sight with an infatuated expression, until a blow or a shove brought them back to the fight. She moved slowly, walking her way backwards to Don Dada's room, taking his car keys. Startled by screams and pleas from a woman, Sonia she recognized, followed by a man bellowing back, "You are not Maureen!" Then came a loud, sickening squelch. Maureen fled, jumping over a pool of blood and broken bodies back to the car. Even as she drove Don Dada's car, his gateman reluctantly complied to open the gates, torn between obedience to her demand and an obvious urge to dash for her side. Mercifully, he did as he was instructed, just in time for a blood-stained man to stagger outside, sweetly beckoning at Maureen. She sped away, not daring to look back again. As she drove, she noticed a recurring shift. Whenever a vehicle got within eyeshot of her, despite its lateness, it maneuvered behind her, as male drivers gazed, beaming broad, silly smiles, following her close behind. Now desperately speeding ahead of this growing convoy of blaring horns, loud calls, heavy tire screeches, Maureen lost track of her surroundings. With each unfamiliar street or road she passed, more and more flocked behind, until after a dangerous turn, led to a full-on collision with a street light. Hurt and tired, Maureen accepted this fate, steeling her nerves for what may come. Then she remembered the necklace. As the crowd began to converge, she moved to unhook it, but found there was no clasp. So Maureen tried yanking it off, immediately hurting her shoulder. It felt as though the necklace had weighed several tons when she had yanked at it. Now she was surrounded. They called to her by name, making proclamations of protection, promises of gifts, declarations of her beauty. This all inevitably led to a street-side brawl, evolving to a death match. Throats were slit, heads broken against pavements, and many other violent acts quickly ran rampant. Then sirens blared, ignored by all but Maureen. 2 police pickup trucks arrived on the scene, disgorging several armed officers, who promptly ignored the carnage and made a beeline for Maureen. An officer approaching her proclaimed a plea for her company, only to be immediately gunned down in the back by another. This began a cycle of weapons being used until bullets were depleted. Then guns became clubs. Thrown up for a second time, Maureen tried her vehicle again, reversed, then sped off, ignoring the sickening crunches as she drove over corpses. Driving for hours now, Maureen eventually parks on a lonely road before passing out in the back seat. By late morning she awakes, alerted by sounds of whispers amidst scurrying movement. Peeping over the window, it is a group of terrified and battered women, who scream at first, then relax after getting a better look at Maureen. They motion for her to open the car, but she just stares at them. Sounds of tire screeching prompts looks of fear. The women scatter as a pickup truck speeds into view. Maureen, peeping, watches a woman run over before the truck stops. 4 men jump out. They chase down and savagely lynch any woman in sight, screaming as they did, "You are not Maureen!" Maureen was not noticed, and soon all was silent. Wiping her tears away, she would go online and receive a bombardment of messages. It damn near froze her iPhone. There were tens of thousands of posts on social media, all about her. Most of them were requests, ranging from mundane to malignant, of similar themes. Where are you, Maureen? We need you, Maureen. We deserve you, Maureen. We love you, Maureen. The tears flow back, and she turns on the radio. Randomly it connects to a radio station, and an announcer just keeps repeating the phrase. Where are you, Maureen? We need you. You are everything.